Disability hate crime remains a hugely underreported crime, and official statistics are likely to reflect the tip of the iceberg. Disability hate crime also remains a significant area for concern in terms of underreporting because of issues around accessibility of reporting, what is called made crime, victims' lack of confidence, lack of awareness, and previous negative experiences of reporting to criminal justice agencies. This collaboration with Dimensions is timely and sheds light on the importance of disability hate crime training being informed by lived experiences. Our evaluation shows that Dimensions training significantly improves officers and policing students' confidence and understanding. The findings also show that the training is useful and informative and has impact and success in terms of raising awareness, fostering empathy, and providing practical strategies to better support disabled individuals and also address disability hate crimes. We also found that although most police forces do currently provide hate crime, they don't necessarily provide disability hate crime. And therefore, that shows that the Dimensions training remains more important than ever. You can see the link for the evaluation report, and I will also put this in the chat for you to access. And I will now hand over to my NTU colleague Martin Tangen, who will talk about neurodiversity and disability hate crime awareness in the criminal justice system and the need for targeted training. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Irene. So, hello, folks. My name's Martin Tangen. I am a senior lecturer here at NTU in policing, and I'm currently the course leader for the Masters in International Law Enforcement. My background is I am neurodiverse, but I was also a police officer for 26 years. And this is a project that is very passionate and has a big place for me. Next slide, Irene, please. So on the 23rd of October 2007, Fiona Pilkington sadly took her own life and that of her disabled daughter following several years of abuse. The subsequent IPCC inquiry highlighted a number of failings and issues by Leicestershire Police, my old force, including a failure to recognise the incidences as hate crime. Finding number 70 also identified that there was a national lack of awareness by police forces in recognising people with disabilities, particularly learning disabilities and people with mental health issues, as targets for hate crime. Next slide, please. This incident from West Yorkshire Police in August 2023 also demonstrates that police officers still struggle to relate to individuals with neurodiverse conditions. A report by the Criminal Justice Joint Inspection Board in 2021 identified that there is certainly no guarantee that a neurodivergent person coming into contact with the CJS will have their needs identified, let alone met, at any stage in the process. Next slide, please. Amongst the recommendations made by the Criminal Justice Inspectorates in their 2021 joint report was that specialist training and awareness raising be developed and delivered to the CJS staff. And this is an extract from that report. Next slide, please, Irene. So the statistical data shows the need for a greater understanding and improved responses to disability hate crime. Traditionally, the focus for hate crime has been on racially or ethnically motivated incidences. However, figures released by the Home Office for 2022 and 2023 show that around 9% of hate crimes and incidences are directed at people with disabilities. Hate crime element is covered by the Crime and Disorder Act 1998, which identifies characteristics covered, and Section 66 of the Sentencing Act 2020, which allows for an uplift in sentencing for anyone convicted of such a crime. It comes as a surprise to some people that of the 9 protected characteristics identified in the Equalities Act 2010, only 5 are covered by the Crime and Disorder Act in relation to hate crime. This, coupled with a lack of understanding by individuals across the CJS of how to interact, communicate and support victims and witnesses who have disabilities, exacerbates any such incidences for those victims and witnesses. And despite reductions in hate crimes generally, the rate for disability hate crime remains relatively static. And in relation to outcomes, perhaps due to the lack of understanding of individuals within the CJS, punitive outcomes for disability hate crimes are amongst the lowest across the range of hate crime categories. Next slide, please. Some of the latest research now suggests that up to 20% of the UK population are neurodivergent. As understanding around neurodivergent conditions increases, more people recognise the conditions and seek a diagnosis. Autism and ADHD conditions in particular have shown a marked increase, as shown here. This is likely linked to a higher awareness rather than an actual increase in the prevalence of the condition. Whilst there has been an increase in awareness, that does not equate to an increase in understanding. Neurodiverse individuals still face problems and constant challenges through a lack of understanding and reasonable adjustments. Many organisations do not have any specific focus at all on neurodiversity within the workplace. Excuse me. This raises the question in the criminal justice sector: if there is a lack of understanding of neurodiversity amongst the workforce, how will there ever be an understanding of neurodiversity with those that come into contact with the criminal justice system? This training programme that we've developed in collaborations with Dimensions UK aims to address this issue by raising awareness and improving CJS interactions with individuals with learning disabilities and neurodiverse conditions. Next slide, please. For those of you that have an interest, these are some of the references for some of the research that we've carried out. So thank you very much. Thank you, Irene.
Fantastic. Thank you, Martin. I will stop sharing now. Sarah and Mark, over to you. While you're uploading the slides, Loretta, do you want to add anything in terms of do you want to add anything to what we've covered so far? Don't worry if not, just to...
Yeah, no, just to say that I think this is very exciting to be in the room with Dimensions about their training, because they've been trying to increase access to the training for quite a long time. Certainly I've probably had some involvement with them for about 10 years now. So, you know, this is much needed training. And I really think it can make a difference to police forces, but also to other organisations in their responses to people who are neurodiverse. So that's about it from me, really. But thanks very much.
Thank you. And you've done research, Loretta, with police officers regarding their training, and that shows the challenges and the gaps and how we need the training to be informed by lived experiences, but also on disability hate crime, because as the evaluation shows, this is lacking. Many forces offer training on hate crime, but not necessarily on disability hate crime, let alone being informed by lived experiences. Right, thank you. So Mark and Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, Mark. I believe you're kicking off.
Good thing. Hi everyone, thank you for coming today. I'm really excited about this training. It's I think a really good extra training package, especially for frontline police. So I am Dr. Mark Brooks, MBE. I'm advocacy lead, and I lead on the Onward Stand campaign, which celebrates 8 years this month.
Thanks, Mark. And I'm Sarah Walter, so I'm campaigns lead at campaigns manager at Dimensions, and I've been working with Mark since the beginning of the I'm with Sam campaign. Today we're going to give you a bit of a teaser of the workshop presentation that's involved in the lesson plans. And the learning outcomes for the whole of the workshop is to understand disability hate crime and the impact it has on police victims and witnesses, understanding neurodiversity and how it affects interactions with the police, enabling better communication and interaction, and providing a better understanding of learning disabilities and neurodiverse conditions, which is, of course, our expertise here. Mark has a learning disability and I'm neurodiverse. Mark?
So just a quick run through a little bit of information about Dimensions. So we're one of the largest non-profit organisations in the sector in England and Wales. With the I'm with Sam campaign has been ongoing since 2013. I'm with Sam campaign represents all the victims and potential victims of a learning disability and also related to hate crime. Dimensions work with key influence, including the MPCC, CPS, Law Commission, and others. This content has been developed in conjunction with Avon and Somerset Police and NTU.
Thank you. And a special shout out to Knots Police as well, who
Yes.
also did the session.
Yeah.
So 73% of people who have learning disabilities or autism have experienced hate crime, but less than half of them reported it to the police. The criminal justice system, unfortunately, tends to treat victims who have learning disabilities or neurodiversities as unreliable. We're going to show you a video now, a little bit of a trigger warning that it is upsetting. It's about Reese and his experience of hate crime. Do let me know if you can't see or hear it.
I still don't feel safe, no.
Why did it start at the end?
I haven't been sleeping or eating properly since that happened. I haven't been into any park since that day happened. I don't feel safe here. Whenever I go out, I have to keep looking behind me and stuff like that. And I'm always gonna be scared living around here. I thought they were nice people, but I was wrong. They forced me to go through the parkway, and it was pitch black. And I said, oh, I want to go this way, but they forced me to go into the park. They said that they weren't gonna hurt me or anything, but they lied, or he lied. I was scared. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was gonna happen until it happened. He wrestled me, like basically wrestled me down onto the floor, and he went straight for my arm. And then he started kicking me, punching me, and then he dragged me to where the pond bit is, and he told me to take my clothes off, and he wanted me to get in there. And they told me that I had a choice, either to walk home butt naked, or me to get in the pond. So I chose to walk home butt naked. And as I was about to walk out, they called me back. They told me to put my clothes back on, and they told me not to say anything. I was actually scared. I was actually being threatened, and you know, because they know that I'm vulnerable, and they know that I can't like stand up for myself, and they know that he knows that I got special needs, so they just like to. He just likes to target special needs.
Hate crime needs to be taken seriously. It's something that no one should experience. Even though Rhys reported his attack, he felt that the support he received wasn't enough to make him feel safe.
If all three of them got prosecuted and they went to prison, then yeah, I would be more safer. They would look back thinking, they might look back and say, oh, I wish we never did this now. I'm trying to get on with my life, but I'm finding it hard. Knowing that he's still out there, that they're still out there.
You're probably wondering what you can do to help tackle autism and learning disability hate crime. Dimensions have created the I'm with Sam campaign with 8 clear objectives to raise awareness and encourage changes within the system. You can become a campaign supporter by signing up to the website below. Please like and share this video to help raise awareness.
I'm going to stop it there because you're already involved in the campaign and you're already helping.
Create
Stop, Mark.
positive-
God, always talking. Hopefully that video just gave you an insight into what it's like to experience learning disability hate crime. Mark does have his own experiences as well, which he has shared throughout his work on the campaign. And unfortunately, Rhys's experience isn't common, and within the larger workshop, we do have more videos from different people explaining their experiences. So Mark, defining learning disabilities.
Okay, just to let you know, we hope this training will help police officers learn more around the definition of learning disability and autism. So here we go. A learning disability affects the way someone learns new things throughout their lifetime. It can cause someone to have a difficulty understanding new or complex information, learning new skills, and coping in independency. Using labels for learning disabilities can be helpful to the person, their families, and those people who work with them to understand their needs. However, it can also be unhelpful if the person with a learning disability and autism is just seen as that label and not treated and appreciated as an individual.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Autism. So autism affects how a person perceives, understands, and communicates with the world around them, and how they communicate and relate to other people through sensory experiences. Autism, like other neurodiversities, is a spectrum and does vary from individual to individual. No autistic person is the same. And historically, autism has been seen as a linear spectrum, but now we are trying to show that it's actually a large colour wheel, and we do tend to move around it depending on the stresses of the days and our experiences. Unfortunately, people with learning disabilities have not been treated well, and the history of that is more recent than you might even realise. So in the 40s, there was eugenics, which argued for the isolation and sterilisation of people with learning disabilities so they couldn't reproduce. In the 60s, there were scandals with the hospitals and the treatments and conditions of asylums that people stayed in. We in fact support some people who used to live in asylums like that. They now own their own homes and are very happy. Hostels were introduced as an alternative, but they weren't necessarily better. In the 90s, changes to the law were made. The Community Care Act and the Disability Discrimination Act was introduced, which aimed to get people out of hospitals and asylums and into their community. But that doesn't always work out either. So 2011, which was actually my very first day working in this sector, Panorama broadcast their investigation into the Winterbourne View home, which showed a level of abuse for people with learning disabilities there which should never be happening. Unfortunately, just 8 years later, a very similar story was uncovered by BBC Panorama again at Walton Hall, and that included autistic people as well. So while the world is getting better and more inclusive, there are still people out there who take advantage in positions of power. Mark.
Yeah. So people with lived experience and autism are often seen as treated as less than human. 45% of victims are scared of other people and do not like leaving their homes. 90% of victims of crime and abuse feel that they are targeted due to their difference or because they were seen as an easy target. So ignoring makes people nasty. Ignorancy makes people. So many individuals with a learning disability and autism will avoid opportunities if they're involved in traveling alone or after dark. Many of the hyper awareness of their surroundings and previous risks more than others. This is often limited to freedom and movement. They don't understand we're people.
And I think Dr. Mark Brooks, MBE, accepting his honorary doctorate there proves that they are in fact people and they've got a lot to offer.
Thank you, Sarah.
We're going to do a very quick exercise here. We're only going to give a few seconds for you to pop your answers in the chat because we are cautious of time and want to make sure that we make the most of the Q&A session. So Mark's going to read out a statement and you guys need to decide if it's true or false, and I'll jump in after a couple of seconds with the answer.
So here we go. So people with learning disabilities don't understand what's happening and makes unreliable witnesses. Sorry. So is that true or false?
I'm going to say time's up now. I can't see the comments, so if nobody said anything, then get on it. It's false, unsurprisingly. As we've mentioned previously, people with learning disabilities are absolutely more than capable of understanding what's happening and sharing their experiences. It's just that some people might need some reasonable adjustments and different communication methods to support this.
Okay. Here we go, another one. You must talk to a carer and not the person with a learning disability directly.
Still can't see the comments, so who knows what's going on out there, but thank you for all of your answers. Of course it's false. So you should talk to the person that you're helping. Their carer or support worker might assist you with that communication, but they shouldn't be your primary focus. Last one.
Okay, so autism people are rude.
I'm hoping that everybody is putting false in there. So autistic people can often express their thoughts in a very straightforward and literal way. Doesn't mean we're being rude, and it shouldn't be interpreted as such. This one relates back to the story in Leeds of the teenager who was arrested because she made a statement about how the police officer looked, and the police officer took offence to it. So communication methods, me and Mark are going to tag team this one. Everybody communicates in the way that is best suited to them, and just here are some options to make you aware.
So verbal, speech or noise?
text-to-speech technology. So if somebody pulls out a mobile phone or something and starts typing into it, it doesn't necessarily mean they're ignoring you. They might just be using a device.
Eye gazing technology.
I'm going to show you a short video here. This is James, who we've worked with for many years and won an award through us for his work. He uses eye gaze technology. He had to fundraise to get this equipment because it wasn't provided through the NHS. Here he's describing his and his mum's experience of hate crime, so a little bit of a trigger warning there. Hey, play.
I was going for a walk to the shops with my mum. There was a big gang of people just stood on the corner of the street in the way with bikes laid on the pavement. My mum said, "Excuse me," but they didn't move. So she said it a bit louder. That's when they got me. Some of them moved, but others shouted at my mum and me. They told us to fuck off. They shouted retard and spaz and said I belong in a home. It was scary. I thought they would hurt me or my mum, and we couldn't run away. My mum and me carried on walking. Luckily, they did not follow. We did not report it to the police because we didn't think it was important enough. We didn't know who they were, and nobody saw it happen. We didn't even think name calling was a hate incident, and the police would think we was wasting their time. We once had somebody write on my van, in black marker, they wrote Paz was here. Luckily it had just happened whilst was in shop, so mum could wipe it off. When this happened to me, it made me feel like I don't matter and small. I was scared, and when we see a gang of people outside now, we avoid them by going around them or a different way to try and avoid trouble. I am free to live my life, but when things like this happen, it makes you want to stay home. In your safe space, nobody should feel like this.
I think we can all agree there that James makes an absolute reliable witness and can communicate. So he works with his mum to pre-program that into his device. I've done a bit of a sneak peek of what's coming up next. So signs and symbols. Some people use pictures and different visual prompts to communicate.
And sign language. So people use a lot who can't speak. You use sign language to say what they're saying.
Yeah, and there's British Sign Language, but there's also a version of communicating with your hands called Makaton, which many people use as well, or instead of. Behaviour and mood changes. So as with everybody, you can see how their emotions reflect what they're feeling.
Learning and gestures, again, hand signals, their body language, basically their body tells you how they're feeling.
And use of facial expressions and muscles. So if they aren't able to lean or gesture, you could still read what they're intending to say through very minimal movements. So reasonable adjustments, Mark.
Yeah. Just quickly as well, reasonable adjustments, very important. It is now a legal right for people with learning disability and autism to have reasonable adjustments. So talk to the individual. We talked about that earlier. It's most important to talk to the person in person. Don't be afraid to ask questions. So we know in the past police don't know how to talk to people with a learning disability. So then don't be afraid to ask, how can we do this question? Be adaptable. So give the time more person, making sure he's relaxed and get to know him. One of the things, the issue is the police don't know how to talk to a person and the person with a learning disability doesn't know. So be adaptable. Have 10 minutes to talk to him and give the person, space and time. That's really important. So you get it right, so he doesn't have to come back. So everyone, irrespective of their level of learning disability and or autism, want to and does communicate.
Thanks, Mark. That's the end of our little teaser. So the full presentation that's available to download via the following link goes into much more detail and includes activities and discussion points and some extra videos as well. And that's it from us for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Sarah. Also, Martin and Loretta. I will stop recording now, and then we can move on to your questions, feedback,